Hello to all of you and welcome to our new little study of a famous painter's style. This time, let's see Georges Seurat as per the request from Fiona McKay. Fiona, what a request! I didn't know what I got into when I started. As a result, this video is a bit more about hardcore color theory and therefore it is also much longer than usual. Well, let's see. Before we go straight into our topic, a few little announcements. First of all, a huge thank you to all of you. You are more and more to watch these videos, and this of course encourages me to do more. So, subscribe, like, and share. Also, like Fiona, don't hesitate to comment with our requests. I am always up for a good challenge, so let's learn about painting together. Finally, a few of you told me in comments that they did paint following my little advices, and that's great, but unfortunately I can't see your masterpieces. So let's put a system in place. When you post your painting on social media, please use the hashtag MGFCPaint for My Geek Family Cotton Paint. This will allow me to search your image every now and then and maybe feature them here. That being said, let's start talking about Seurat, pointillism and color theory. Georges Seurat was born in 1859 and was maybe the most particular of post-impressionists. His short career, he unfortunately passed away when he was only 31 years old, was indeed like a UFO in the sky of the art scene. Not only Seurat developed his own technique of painting and rendering colors, but he did this not with the usual artistic technique, but using science. Yes, Seurat was a serious science buff, and after doing a huge amount of black and white drawings to understand how light and shadows were working together, he studied the works of Michel-Eugène Chevreuil, a chemist with a passion for cross-stitch and tapestries, to understand colors, optical effects, and how they were perceived by the eye. He understood, on one hand, that two colors that are next to each other can be perceived as one single third color, a mix of the original two colors, and on another hand, that our eye keep in its retina a halo, an inverse impression of what we have just seen in its complementary color. Seurat therefore included these two elements in his painting. But to understand more, we will need to go back to color theory. If we look at this little palette, we can place the three primary colors, yellow, red, and blue, in their respective places. We all know that once they are mixed, they create the secondary colors, green, purple, and orange. This is what we will call the color wheel. Each color has therefore a complementary color directly opposite on the wheel, and made of the primary colors that were not used in its mix. For example, purple is a mix of red and blue, and its complementary color is yellow. Blue is a primary color, and its complementary is done by mixing red and yellow, which gives us orange. Now, please picture the iconic album cover from Pink Floyd. The transparent or white light goes to a prism and is divided into the colors of the rainbow. Technically, the three primary colors and their complementaries. The light is indeed composed of these three colors, and when direct light reflects on an object, it only reflects the color of its surface. A blue object will only reflect the blue and absorb the red and yellow. If the object is orange, it will reflect the red and yellow and absorb the blue. In the shadows, we are getting darker and therefore closer to the color black, which would be complete obscurity. And black being the color you get when you mix the three primary colors together, this means we have much more balance between the three primary colors. The original color is still reflected, But the complementary color is not absorbed completely anymore, but reflected at least partially to give a darker color closer to black. How does this translate in painting? I've said many times that the Impressionists were using the complementary colors to create shadow. For example, if you want to paint a green cube with the light coming this way, the face will be our regular green, no problem there. The top, which is directly hit by the light, will be a lighter green. We will add white to the green to make it lighter. And for the side in the shadow, we will add a bit of complementary color to green, so red. And this will create a darker shade of green, much closer to what the human eye can see. We indeed don't see the shadows as black, but simply as darker shade of the original object's color. Now, Seurat was absolutely sciencing the hell out of it. He was using points to paint, hence the name pointillism. But he was actually calling his technique chromoluminarism for color and lights, or divisionism because he was dividing each color back to its primary component. So, if we want to do the same green cube, we will paint the whole surface with yellow dot, the whole surface with blue dot. This should give the illusion of green when seen from afar, as our brain will mix the blue and the yellow. And we will add white dots on the top for the light and red dots on the side for the shadow. The eye is easily tricked, and from far you will see this cube not only as green, but also with the shadow and light in the right places. You can see this technique in some newspaper who print their photos with a multitude of microscopic blue, red and yellow dots, creating the illusion of an image in full color. Well, hello. Let's do a little experiment. Let's say you want to do this shape in a nice shade of green. Let's say, I don't know, emerald green. Emerald is a combination of medium blue and cadmium yellow. So, to have emerald, you will need to make a medium blue and cadmium yellow square. Wait. You did all this with the wig, the green screen and everything for only for that joke? Yeah. Well, now that we have the theory, let's go practical and paint. So the inspiration for this is one of the most famous paintings from Seurat, Un dimanche après-midi sur l'île de la Grande Jatte. That's a mouthful. A small island on the River Seine where Parisians were going on the weekend to relax in the 19th century. The love of Seurat for Egyptian art is evident when you consider that almost all the characters depicted here are seen sideways. It's almost a beach scene, but with all the pomp and gravitas of the time. Nobody is moving except the dog and the little girl, and everyone is overdressed. So, let's do a modern version of this. For the landscape, I will use as a reference a picture I took in East Coast Park here in Singapore. And for the characters relaxing on the riverbanks, I will draw, as usual, members of my own family. I will use a textured paper for this. It will absorb a bit too much water, but that is not a problem because we will use less water than for a regular watercolor. And we will use still watercolor and gouaches. The palette is red, blue, yellow and white with a tad of black for the detail that we will do with a pen. But we will mix these colors eventually. Let's start our 7 steps. Nothing unusual here. I used a grid method for the background and drew the characters in a kind of naive style, simplified and stylized, but not cartoonish. Now, if you look at Dimanche après-midi sur l'île de la Grande Jatte, you may not have noticed that the massive canvas is framed by a kind of little border all around it. Seurat used this little device to make the center of the painting pop. This border is filled with the complementary colors of whatever is touching the frame. The green grass is pushed away by a red frame, the blue sky is bordered by orange, etc., etc. Let's reserve our frame and we will fill it as we paint with the complementary colors. Well, you guys know me by now. I don't like to paint on a white canvas. Several reasons for this. First, it gives you a better view of how your colors will look like when they are surrounded by other colors. Second, it allows you to give a general tone to the whole painting. And finally, it helps mask these little white people between the brush strokes. If you look at the original painting, there's always a kind of blue mood about it. So let's use some diluted blue to soften the whole tonality of the painting. With extremely diluted watercolors, we can give an indication of the color of each part of the painting. This will not only help filling the gap, that may be, but it will also guide you when you have to divide the colors like Seurat. When you see green, you automatically know that you have to put some blue and yellow dots. When you see purple, you will know it is blue and red. Now comes the tedious part. For your information, Seurat spent months and months on his Grande Jatte painting. Well, it is a colossal size, but still. The idea is to take the primary colors one by one and apply them dot by dot everywhere you have to. Blue will go on the blues, of course, but also on the purples, the greens, and of course, as we saw earlier, to the oranges shadows. This is a bit of a tricky brain exercise, but it is well worth it. You can increase or diminish the influence of a color by either leaving more space between your dots or even by adjusting the size of your dots. If the blue is really intense, you can have bigger dots and smaller ones for a mixed color, for example. Also, don't forget to use the pure blue you have, but also lighter shade by adding white, for example, for the sky or the water. And you will do the same for your reds and your yellows. Okay, this can feel a bit like cheating, but Seurat didn't only use the primary colors. His grass still have some green in it, his tree trunks a bit of brown. The idea is to gently help the brain to do the transition between all these colors. So mix your colors and add them where they are needed by small touches to soften a bit the image, if you will. Finally, with a small brush or a pen, you can touch up everything that doesn't really fit. Add a suggestion of a contour here, draw the thin branch of the tree there, the pattern on the shirt, etc., etc. This is also the time to add some white to show the lighter side of some object or persons, and draw the small details in black, the hair for example, or some small lines. This step is there to link everything together and make all these dots seem as a single image. Less is more, of course, but sometimes the tiniest detail make the greatest difference. And we are done. This is a completely different way of painting and will teach you lots and lots about colors and lights and shadows. It is extremely time consuming, so don't aim for a huge canvas if you want faster results. But be careful, because the size of your dots compared to the size of the canvas will determine how visible are your details. Take breaks often. Take a step back and see from a distance if the effect is what you were going for. But once you will be finished, I guarantee you will be happy with the results. Show me your paintings, like, share, comment with your requests. See you next time and à bientôt!